Ciao a tutti e bentornati alla seconda lezione di grammatica di Italian Accelerator, episodio 7. Wow, we've done so much together. So as you know, Italian Accelerator is all about showing you a conversation in Italian with subtitles, letting you study that thing for as long or as much as you can, looking up words, and then when you're ready, I come back and in your language I explain to you what we said. So, we are in the middle of a conversation with my friend Lisa. We are going to get back to that in a minute. I want to remind you that you must watch that video first, and that this series is called Italian Accelerator, and that my name is still Manu Venditti, Emanuele Venditti, and I'm your Italian online tutor. And Italian Accelerator is definitely something different that we do here. So I'm going to show you a section of that clip. It's going to have subtitles, so you should be able to remember what the conversation was about, and then I'll come back and I'll tell you some expressions.
Sì.
Invece lo sai cosa mi ha detto mia sorella?
Eh?
Che mio cognato, che vive in Italia da 16 anni,
Sì?
più o meno, non mi ricordo esattamente, e sta con mia sorella da 14,
Sì.
ok?
Di dov'è tuo cognato?
È tunisino,
Ah,
della
ecco.
Tunisia. Quindi lui in Italia ha il permesso di soggiorno.
Mhm.
Ok, che è
Ah.
tipo una green card, diciamo così, no? Ha il permesso di soggiorno da molti anni e tanti anni fa, penso 5 o 6 anni fa, ha fatto la domanda di cittadinanza italiana. Perfetto, ok, so this clip, me and Lisa are talking about, well, she just finished telling me or us about her partner visa with a partner in Australia, and then I say, oh, by the way, you know what my sister told me? And I start talking about my brother-in-law, mio cognato, who's from Tunisia, okay, Tunisia, and who's been living in Italy for many years. 5 or 6 years ago, he applied for his permesso di soggiorno. So let's have a look at only a couple of, well, actually, only one expression from this clip, which is fare domanda. I say ha fatto domanda. Literally, he's made a question, but it's got nothing to do with that. If you ask a question, then it's fare una domanda. Ti faccio una domanda, I'm going to ask you a question. So fare una domanda means to ask a question. But this one is fare domanda, which means to apply for something. If you apply for scholarship, for a grant, anything that you apply for, it's fare domanda. So you conjugate fare, like I did, ha fatto domanda, okay? And then I just mentioned permesso di soggiorno, which is, it's the permit that anybody who's not Italian really, and who's not European, needs to get after 3 months of staying in Italy if they want to stay longer. But obviously, most people don't care about it. But if you live in Italy and you have a life there, then you need to get one because it involves everything else. But yeah, let's keep going with this conversation because there's a lot of expressions coming up. Visto che sta in Italia da una
Dopo
vita,
16 anni, wow.
ha una figlia italiana.
Ah, ok.
Che non è sposato con mia sorella, ma comunque ha
Sì,
una
sì.
figlia italiana.
Sì.
E dopo 6 o 7 anni finalmente ha ricevuto una risposta. Cittadinanza negata.
Oh!
Sì, ma per un errore, perché praticamente a loro, all'immigrazione italiana, risulta che nel 2008 non ha rinnovato il permesso di soggiorno. So he applied for this visa, basically, and after many years, he got a negative response. He didn't get it. And it was only all for a mistake, because risulta che nel 2008, so I'm using the verb risultare, which looks like to result, but that's not what it means. So in Italian, when we say risulta, or risultare, it's kind of like, it doesn't translate too well in English. There's a number of expressions. I've got a few, like it proved to be, turn out to be, appears that, seems that. So in this case, I would say that, and it appears that in 2008, he didn't have a permesso di soggiorno. So risulta is, it turns out. So you will hear this expression a lot when we speak in Italian, which is non mi risulta, or in the question ti risulta. Non mi risulta or ti risulta means it's hard to say it doesn't exist, but if I say non mi risulta, it's like saying, well, last time I checked, it wasn't so. So non mi risulta, it's like saying I don't think so, but it's got the added information of last time I checked, there was no proof of that. So if I ask you ti risulta, it's kind of saying do you agree, but it's do you agree based on your experiential statistical data. So when I say ti risulta, I imply that I assume that you've done some research or that you have some information, and then ask you, do you agree? Okay. So, rinnovare is the verb that we use to when you renew something. Rinnovare il passaporto is when you renew your passport. In my brother-in-law's case was rinnovare il visto, or rinnovare il permesso di soggiorno, to renew his visa or his permit. But it's also used for rinnovare i voti nuziali, when you renew your vows, your wedding vows. Ok, perfetto. Back to the chat. Mia sorella invece ha la prova che lui lo ha rinnovato, cioè ce l'ha. Però in Italia, sai,
Italia.
il ritardo e quindi in pratica lui non ha la cittadinanza
Wow.
ancora perché secondo loro è stato clandestino per un anno. So, here I mentioned the Italian ritardo, the delay. Okay, how should I bring it up? In Italy, bureaucracy is a nightmare. There's 25 layers of bureaucracy before you can do anything. They've tried to make it go away, but it's still there, especially when you compare it to some other countries. It's just crazy the steps that you have to do for anything. And so that's what happened to my brother-in-law. To the immigration, the Italian immigration, they have no evidence that he renewed his visa in 2008, but he did. But they don't have the proof of that, which is their own proof. Like, and they should prove it to themselves that he renewed it. But my sister has the proof that he's done it. But anyway, he was considered a clandestino for because of that year that he wasn't legally in Italy, but he was. Anyway, so many years later, they rejected his application, and that's because of the Italian bureaucracy, the paperwork, the delay that happens so often in Italy. So if you ever experience Italy, my advice in my first course, which was Speak Italian from Day One, which was targeted to travelers, one thing that I said, Italy is amazing. I mean, if you could go to Italy and have your own money and live in Italy, you'd be the happiest person in the world. It gets a little tougher when you have to deal with bureaucracy. And that's why in that course I actually say, don't go to the post office. If you need stamps, go to a tobacconist. Get the stamps from a shop, not from the post office, because then you would have to experience the nightmare of Italian bureaucracy. So that was my little spiel. Okay, back to the story.
Sai Manu, io
Manu sta qua.
a gennaio
So this was very quick, but I wanted to talk about this thing. So she said, Lisa says, ciao Manu, sai Manu, but looking at the camera, and then say, Manu sta qua. In the past, earlier I said, my brother-in-law, mio cognato, sta in Italia. Now, this usage of the verb stare is incorrect, regional, I don't know. Now, if you speak Spanish or Portuguese, you know clearly the difference between to be and to stay and how they overlap. Now, in Italian, this is not so all the time. It is in the dialects, but it also happens in conversational Italian, standard Italian. So, Manu è qua. I should have said Manu è qua. Manu is here. Or mio cognato è in Italia. He is in Italy. So, essere is the verb that we should be using, but when we try to have a more colorful conversation, for things that are temporary, we can use the verb stare. Like I said, it's mostly a dialect thing. So it's not Italian, standard Italian, but to add a little bit of color, it's okay to use it every now and then. So instead of saying sono qua, you could say sto qua. It's more southern, but like I said, I grew up in the north, so I use it. So it's not really that. It depends on the situation. I can't really tell you when you should use it, but you will hear people use the verb stare when you would expect the verb essere. So just be prepared for that, ok?
hai detto che devo
Sì,
guardare là.
guardiamo là, scusa, sì.
Sai Manu, io a
Dimmi.
gennaio andrò a fare un corso di estetista. Sì, è molto interessante perché ho intenzione di lavorare per i matrimoni con le spose e quindi dare un nuovo look alle spose con un tocco di italianità, con lo stile italiano.
So she wants to study how to be a beautician, pretty much. Estetista is a beautician, and she wants to organize, work with brides, and give a little touch of italianità, un tocco di italianità. That's what it means. It's a touch of Italianness. Un tocco di. That expression you can use every time you're thinking of a touch of. Un tocco di sensibilità, ok? Un tocco di creatività. Things like that. So it would definitely work.
E quindi magari acconciatura, trucco, suggerimenti sull'abbigliamento, anche sulla festa, ecco. Quindi da gennaio andrò a fare questo corso per avere la certificazione e poi ho intenzione di preparare un website.
Benissimo. So in January, which is last January, she started this course. She wanted to start this course and learn how to do, makeup and, hairstyle, and she wants to work with brides. And now, ho intenzione di preparare. Ho intenzione means I have the intention, and di preparare of preparing. So it's like saying I plan to do something. Ho intenzione di studiare italiano. I'm planning to study Italian. So this ho intenzione, it does mean I have the intention, but in English you probably say I'm planning to. So don't translate I'm planning to. This is much better way of saying that you're planning to do something. Ho intenzione di andare in vacanza in Italia. Ho intenzione di passare il Natale in Italia. Anything along those lines would work. Perfetto, ok. That's it. Enough this. Grazie mille per aver guardato questo altro episodio di Italian Accelerator. I would love to thank all the sponsors, all the amazing people who've donated actual money to have this series keep running, because obviously it's not very popular because the percentage of advanced students on YouTube, advanced students of Italian, is like 5%. Most of our audience are beginner to intermediate. So thank you so much for sponsoring this series. Apologies for skipping a few weeks. It looks like it may have to become an every other week kind of thing, but I'll do my best. As you know, I'm really busy with my From Zero to Italian program. That's going really well, but I have 300 students already enrolled and that's a lot of work. So, grazie mille, grazie a tutti per le vostre donazioni, per il vostro supporto. Ma ho intenzione di fare molti video per YouTube in italiano con i sottotitoli, che quindi saranno per voi studenti di livello avanzato, oltre a Italian Accelerator. Quindi ci sarà molto lavoro per tutti, o molto materiale per tutti. Grazie mille e ci vediamo la settimana prossima. Un bacio, ciao ciao.